So I wanted to make a video talking about procrastination. I've had a love-hate relationship with procrastination for as long as I can remember. Sometimes I'm completely okay with pushing things off and procrastinating. Other times I completely regret waiting till the last minute and putting all that pressure on my shoulders. I know most of you watching probably feel the same way, so I wanted to make a video talking about what habits and practices help me tackle procrastination. First off, let's start by defining procrastination. Procrastination is basically the act or habit of putting something off. I think it's a problem of getting started, which is usually driven by some sort of fear or other friction that discourages us from taking action. Most of us procrastinate doing homework because we might not understand the content completely. We might avoid studying for a specific subject or test because we're afraid of failing. We might also put off reviewing slide decks because there might be over 300 slides in that deck. Me personally, I used to procrastinate doing the dishes because it just wasn't fun. I would much rather spend my time doing something that I enjoyed, like watching TV or playing video games. One of the habits or practices that helped me combat procrastination was breaking these massive tasks into less intimidating, smaller chunks. I found that breaking these tasks into smaller chunks or parts made them less intimidating and more approachable. For example, instead of tackling all 300 slides at once, I decided to break them down into 10 separate sessions with 30 slides each and tackle those in a specific period of time. Now the goal is much more realistic and less intimidating, which might just increase the quality of your study session. In my opinion, I'm usually able to digest more of the content this way. In fact, I believe there are a couple studies that have been done that suggest techniques like this or the Pomodoro Method definitely help increase the quality of your study sessions. By breaking down your study sessions into smaller chunks, you're not only able to combat procrastination, but also increase your focus, and you're more likely to increase your retention. I also like to follow the 2-minute rule a lot. It's essentially just a very handy mind trick that convinces yourself to just do a specific task for 2 minutes and not more, but you'll find that more often than not, you end up spending more than 2 minutes doing that task. The goal here is to just get started, and then you'll realize the energy taken to continue the project is much slower than the energy taken to stop and continue at some other date, so you're probably just gonna follow through until you get tired. I honestly find myself using this 2-minute rule a lot for a bunch of things like cleaning my room, reading a book, or doing homework, and I usually get very invested after 2 minutes, so I keep on going until I get tired. Another thing I do is I try to make these tasks more fun or enjoyable. For example, I used to hate doing the dishes or doing laundry, and that's because I would much rather spend my time watching TV or playing video games. So I decided to combine the two tasks. I would probably put on a TV show that I liked while doing the dishes, or listen to a podcast while folding laundry. And I found that this reduced the intimidation of doing that specific task, reduced the friction altogether of not wanting to do that task. Now I don't have any sort of negative relationship with these tasks. In fact, I do kind of like them. I believe this is because my brain kind of releases dopamine every time I think about doing those tasks, because I know it's associated with watching a cool TV show or listening to a fun podcast. I would definitely highly recommend you try this out for yourself, especially if you find yourself getting stuck at a specific task or not being able to get started. For example, if you notice that you're struggling to sit down and start that essay that's due by the end of the week, I recommend trying to put on a TV show or a movie on the background, and you might find that you're able to get through. Although the quality of focus might not have been the best, at least you're able to get started, which means you've broken the procrastination barrier. Now that you're more comfortable with the task, I recommend you start introducing new goals to slowly increase your focus or attention towards the task at hand. Lastly, and most importantly, I found that changing my environment had a significant impact in helping me procrastinate less. Some of you might know I am very introverted and I like staying home. It's where I'm most comfortable, but it's also the place where I have the most distractions. For example, if you flip this camera around, there's a massive TV, my computers, my books, and video games. So it's not really a very good environment for me to be productive. So because of that, I started forcing myself to change my environment every time I felt stuck or I was aware that I was procrastinating. I decided to start going to the library that's located not too far from here, and I noticed that I procrastinated way less. Just by this change of environment, over half of the distractions that were previously there were now gone. I had no other interesting distractions within my vicinity, which essentially forced me to get started with my work, which obviously was amazing. If you want to take this a step further, I recommend bringing a friend or an accountability buddy who can help you stay on track and keep you focused. Just by having someone else there, you have an additional level of encouragement, and you're also less likely to do something like putting on a movie or dozing off. Obviously, this only works if you're like me and kind of introverted. If you're a social butterfly, this might not work for you. What I would do if I was an extrovert is the complete opposite. Instead of studying in a library with a lot of friends, I would probably try to confine myself to a quiet and private place like my room, just to limit social distractions. Hopefully this will force you to get started, but if you do find yourself being distracted by your phone or other gadgets, I recommend only keeping what you need in that specific room and keeping all the other unnecessary noise in a different room. Also, if you're interested to learn more about the forcing function, I wrote a couple blog posts about the topic. I'll leave some links down below if you guys want to check them out. A bonus tip that might work for some of you is using concepts like fear setting by Ferris. Let's say you're putting off doing an assignment that's due soon, or you don't want to study for a test that's coming up. What I would do is list down all the what ifs about the specific task, like what if I fail this exam, what if this affects my scholarship, what if I flunk out of school, and you'll notice that rationalizing all the what ifs about the task might make you convinced to do that specific task because it's easier than the consequences of not doing that task. This definitely might not work for all of you, so an alternative I recommend is setting false deadlines that are sooner than the original deadline. This might trick yourself to start the project sooner than you would have. It definitely did work for me, so try it out. The goal, or at least my goal here, is not to completely abstain from procrastination and end up being the perfect productive being. I believe most of us just want to have a little bit more control of our lives while being more intentful with our time, and I definitely do think these habits and practices will help. Remember, getting started is just the first step. If you want to live a more productive life, there are a lot of other things you can do too. It's also important to note that procrastination doesn't only have to apply to your education. You might also find yourself procrastinating your mental health, your physical health, and also your social relationships with your friends and family. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments down below. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.